Hello, dumplings. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about hauntings today. Maybe hauntings. I don't know. Me and my friends could have just been getting really high way too often. But I'll lay out all the evidence and let you decide. So let's get into it. Firstly, I went to a historic college. Like, literally, some of the buildings that the college owned were so old they were not allowed to make any changes or improvements because they were protected by, like, the Historic Society or something. Like, the school I went to used the fact that they're the oldest college in the state in their marketing, even though that isn't entirely true. See, there is a building on campus that is the oldest college in the state, but the college that I attended just bought that building. So, fucking liars. That's going to be a theme going forward. Keep note of that. So, I lived on campus, and the campus I lived on had a lot of old buildings and a lot of new buildings designed to look like the old buildings from the outside so that it wouldn't, like, do something to the historic integrity of the campus. I don't know, man. That's all they kept saying. Every time, like, the student body would ask for a parking garage, we were told no because blah, 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 historic integrity of the campus. Any new building added to the campus had to look a certain way and be approved by the Historic Preservation Society, or whatever the fuck it was called. Keep that in mind too. That's like two things to keep up with. The new buildings looking as old as the older buildings on campus will come up later. So, our story starts in 2014. Me and my best friend moved into the freshman dorms. Except we didn't move into the regular freshman dorms. Like, we moved into special freshman dorms. These dorms are in a little old two-story house the college owned, and they were for, like, first generation college students, sheltered kids, the different kids, the neurodivergent kids. Hello. Just kids that would not have thrived in the regular freshman dorms. The regular freshman dorms were like right in the middle of campus, close to everything, but our dorms were more like on the outskirts of the campus, next to like the baseball field and the visual arts department. So this barrel is primed. You have a bunch of kids whose brains are just wired a little bit differently to begin with, on a campus with some of the oldest buildings in the state, and we were freshmen, so obviously the upperclassmen wanted to fuck with us and tell us all ghost stories, like all night, every night. Some examples of some of the stories they told us would be that the freshman dorms in the middle of campus used to be all female dorms when the school had seminary classes, and something happened to one of the residents that resulted in her burying a baby behind the dorms before they put in the parking lot. Or another story that they told was that the English department used to be the old psychology department, and that there was a locked mirror room where they used to do unethical experiments in the 60s. Another story that I particularly enjoyed at the time, because I was a cringy little weirdo, was that some of the skeletons in the biology department are real, and they were so old that they could have been purchased from H. H. Holmes. Another story would be that the old college and the reverend's house were haunted by the ghost of the reverend that founded the school in 1794. And of course, my favorite, the year before we started, they found a large, ornate, hand carved Ouija board in the room me and my friend were staying in after everyone was supposed to have moved out. And they had a picture to back that one up. Like, I actually saw a picture of the Ouija board. Now, while they were telling all of these stories, there was this guy. I can't remember his name or even what he looked like now, but I remember it was a guy sitting in this little cramped living room in a little armchair next to a tall floor lamp. And he was pretty adamant that the ghost stories were like all some bullshit. Like, he was going on and on about it too, calling some of the people who were fully buying it like dumb and gullible and just all kinds of names. Okay, he was going off about these ghost stories. And then he started like demanding proof to the ghosts. He said if there was a ghost, then they should do something to prove it right now. Like, do it right now. Well, remember that floor lamp he was sitting next to? The light bulb falls out and shatters on the floor. Dead fucking silence. He never brought it up again, and we were absolutely convinced. Now, some extra information about this incident. The college only provided light bulbs for the overhead lights. Any extra lamps that we brought in, we had to provide the bulbs for, obviously. And we were all broke college kids, so we got the cheapest ones. This thing where the bulb separates from the metal part is a thing for these cheap bulbs. It was apparently so common that there was an easily findable hack to get the metal part out since it was stuck in the lamp. There were, in fact, multiple video tutorials for when this happened, because, like, it apparently happened a lot. And this guy was getting into it. Like, I don't really remember, but maybe he stamped his feet or jostled the lamp. Maybe he was gesturing and bumped it. It's possible. But at the time, we were hooked. We were ramping up. Then me and my best friend met our third musketeer. This was a dude who also lived in these special freshman dorms. Like, the first floor was boys' dorms, and the second floor was the girls' dorms. So he lived on the first floor. And this motherfucker had a YouTube channel where he did ghost hunting videos. Okay. Like, he downloaded an EMF detector app on his phone and another app that was supposed to, like, convert ghost intent into random words. So he would be walking around freaking listening to static on his phone, and then a word like cold would come through. Okay, like, don't judge us too harshly. We were so bored and we were so high for a lot of this, okay? Like, please don't judge us too harshly. So it was me, my best friend who became my girlfriend that year, and Ghost Hunter. And we were inseparable. And I'm not gonna lie, it was fun and exciting, which is probably how we fell so deeply into this. Because on the campus, there was nothing else to do besides run around with main character energy or do illegal things. I mean, we were also doing illegal things while we were ghost hunting, but the alternative when we got bored was to start causing drama. So it was either go around and do ghost shit or stay in the drama. So we went out and we did ghost shit while partaking of the devil's lettuce. Or partaking in the devil's lettuce. I don't know how you would word that. You know what I'm talking about. The green. Now, disclaimer. It is currently 2026 while I'm filming this. These events started happening in 2014, and I am bad at like time and stuff, so I'll try to keep these things in the best order that I can. But some stuff is definitely going to get jumbled up because there was a lot of like drama coinciding with all of this. But this is to the best of my ability. So I think the only experience that I can say I had that convinced me that everything was real happened our freshman year in 2014. I had a work study, which, if you don't know, it's just a job you can apply for on campus. It might give you some credits you're missing, it might pay you. Mine paid off a portion of my tuition that my student loans didn't cover. Now, my work study was in the building that the English department was in. There were some administrative offices in the basement of this building, and that was where I worked, in those administrative offices. If you remember from earlier, the English department was supposed to be the old psychology department with the locked mirror room on the third floor. That was always in the back of my mind while I was working, this locked third floor. If you asked anyone in administration, it was locked for structural and safety reasons. But if you asked the students, it was because people would see things in the mirrors. So, I was doing my work study, making welcome packets for incoming freshmen and shit. And at some point, I went to the bathroom and I was washing my hands. I was wearing a green sweater. I remember that. That detail, for some reason, is locked in my mind. Well, not some reason. I think the reason that the green sweater is locked in my mind is because in the mirror, like at the corner of my eye, I saw like this pink shape move. So I think someone is trying to get around me, and this is like a small bathroom. There are two stalls and a sink by the door. So I step closer to the sink and try to kind of turn out of the way to let this person pass. And there's no one there. I'm alone in the bathroom. There is no one trying to get around me. So I went straight to my best friend and ghost hunter, obviously. And they attached to the fact that I saw her in the mirror. I saw her in the mirror in the building with the mirror room. Like, I don't know, okay? It was so long ago, I can't remember exactly, but I don't think I ever said I saw a woman in the mirror until after one of them suggested that the pink was a pink shirt. Then it was like a memory was implanted, and it was a her that I saw in the mirror. Looking back, though, the only thing I remember is just a pink blur out of the corner of my eye. And I am diagnosed with, okay, well, a couple things, but the important one for this story is an anxiety disorder. When I am incredibly stressed, I do occasionally see shapes moving at the corner of my vision. It's just like an anxiety thing. And what is more stressful than balancing work and college and all of this interpersonal drama that we were always in? Okay. But that was my experience. Then the three of us started going to the Reverend's house at night. The Reverend's house was one of the two oldest buildings on campus. There was the old college and the Reverend's house. They were both built in the 1700s and had both been converted into museums for the history department to do work study in. The Reverend's house had this little watershed next to a big creek, and people would sneak down there to smoke because it was so far off the path that campus security never patrolled there. Now, just to be clear, for all of you young college students up there, that does not mean that they don't know what you're doing. They know exactly what you're doing. They're just not going to haul their asses down that far as long as you're not bothering anybody. Okay? They know what you're doing down there. But I digress. Back on topic. The Reverend's house was supposed to be the most haunted house on campus. So that was where we met the Phoenix Circle. Like, I swear, this shit flows like seasons, but I am not fucking making it up. There was an occult student organization on campus. Like, you can found a student organization for any reason. It's super easy to get approved, especially for something like religious organizations. The school I went to was historically Presbyterian, but they were also at the time a liberal arts school. So they were down for inclusion as long as you worded your paperwork right and didn't leave a mess outside of any of these historic buildings. So we met the Phoenix Circle and immediately did not like them. Like, I think it was like a little bit of an ego death for us. Like, we were supposed to be these main characters. How dare they come in and steal our thunder? One of them brought ice cream offerings for the ghost, and they were like the sweetest person. Let me get that out of the way because we were assholes. But they said the Reverend's favorite flavor of ice cream was chocolate ice cream. And we just shit talked this poor person for this later, even though they literally did nothing wrong besides maybe being a genuinely sweet person to a bunch of assholes like us. Like, we would walk back to our dorm like, oh, ice cream? These are ghosts, not your bestie. They're tampering with forces they don't understand. They're probably why the ghosts are so active on the campus. We have to do something about them. Like, y'all, please, we are literally doing the exact same thing, walking around with stupid phone apps and asking spirits to speak to us. Like, I genuinely feel so bad. This person didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure the Reverend in your story loved chocolate ice cream. I'm sorry we were assholes. Even if you never knew we were being mean, I know, and it bothers me now. Okay, so moving on. This is the story we were telling each other. So the Phoenix Circle became the bad guys, and they were responsible for every bad thing that we contributed to the ghosts. Because, according to us, the Phoenix Circle was agitating them and inviting them in. And then summer happened, and we just kind of forgot about the Reverend's house and the ghosts. Obviously, because we had other things to do at that point. But then it kicked right back off our sophomore year. We were in different dorms this time, we had different roommates. Ghost Hunter was an RA in the freshman dorms that supposedly used to be all female dorms. And we still get together and do ghost shit because there is literally nothing else to do. But our sophomore year, we have 3 more characters in our ghost adventures. These were people that we were friends with before, but I can't remember exactly when we roped them into our madness. So it's still me, my best friend, who is now my on again, off again girlfriend, and Ghost Hunter, but we are adding Dreamer, Reader, and Ferret. Dreamer was my best friend's best friend, and at the time we believed that she was a clairvoyant because she would have what we thought were prophetic dreams. Dreams that usually excluded me, but I think she had a crush on my girlfriend, and it was years ago, so we're fine, it's over. My best friend always found a way to include me anyway, so it didn't matter. Reader was a Wicca practitioner who did tarot readings for us, and Ferret just like knew everybody. Like, he could get permission to go anywhere. Like, he got us into some crazy places we should not have been allowed into. So, with the inclusion of Dreamer, Ferret, and Reader, we are actively trying to counteract the things that we believe the Phoenix Circle are doing by having Reader lead us in some like witchy type shit. So this is the year that we saw the 3rd floor of the English building. It had floor to ceiling mirrors, just like they said it would. But I think this is the point of the story where I'm going to go back and talk about some of the stories we were told my freshman year. Because with my experience in this building, we were convinced that something horrible happened in that room. Ferret said he felt like he was being watched. Reader said she felt like a dark and heavy presence was with us. And the mind is such a powerful thing because unethical experiments never happened in that room. We didn't know that at the time, so when Reader walked into the room and said they were strapped to a chair right here, we believed them. Hell, they probably believed themselves because we all believed what we were experiencing at the time. But the experiment they were talking about only ever existed in the movies. I researched everywhere and couldn't find an instant of this experiment ever happening for real. The closest thing I found was White Room torture or the Psychomantum experiment, popularized by Raymond Moody, that only used one singular mirror. I think the movies are trying to convey white room torture when they show a room like this with just mirrors and mirrors, but mirrors are more visually interesting than plain white rooms. Anyway, so, 1, this experiment wasn't real. And 2, this was never the psychology department, but this building was across from the theater. We had a pretty good theater department at the time, but back in the 60s, it was a huge department. And it was common for some of our buildings to pull double duty. Like, there was a big ring around the second floor of the old library so that the track could run laps in the library when it rained, before they could build those big indoor sports complexes. And the English building wasn't exempt from this. It was pulling triple duty in the 60s. Administration in the basement, English on the first and second floors, and a ballet studio on the third. And what about the freshman dorms, you ask? The ones in the middle of the campus? Most nights when Ghost Hunter was an RA there, he couldn't sleep there because his app kept saying "no boys allowed" over and over and over again. And he kept having freaked out freshmen come up to him and ask how they could get a transfer out of the freshman dorms because they kept hearing a crying baby and it was keeping them up at night. Well, remember when I said the newer buildings looked a lot like the older buildings? Well, the freshman dorms were one of the newest buildings on campus before they finished the new science department my junior year. They were literally finished in the 90s, and they were never an all-female dorm. They were always designed to be co-ed dorms. Also, I don't know why I forgot to mention this, but in all the stories there were like nuns for some reason, and now that I'm older, y'all be so fucking for real. I feel dumb looking back at this now because Presbyterians don't have nuns. They just don't. This was not a Catholic school. Back when our school had seminary classes, they were not Catholic. Like, this college I attended was one of the first to offer classes for women, but it's not as progressive as it sounds. Women could get an associate's degree in secretarial sciences, homemaking, or seminary, which was like if they wanted to be a Sunday school teacher for women or a preacher / religious studies for men. Okay? So, why the fuck were we so convinced there were nuns in this all-female dorm that was never even an all-female dorm? Like, I don't know. I feel really dumb for that one. Like, for real. Like, I feel especially dumb for not questioning this while I was in classes that were like actively trying to teach us to question and verify sources. Like, I feel real dumb for that one. So, moving on down the line, it gets like a little bit more wobbly because the science department was a very old building. I wasn't able to confirm exactly how old, but it was incredibly old. And some of their skeletons were real human skeletons. They weren't used for teaching anymore. They were more there to be pieces of science history, but I could not tell you how old they were or where they came from. I can tell you that maintenance and cleaning staff refuse to go into the old science building after dark. So there's that. Like, I'm not opposed to unexplained phenomena, but the older I get, the more I feel like that was not what was happening with my group of friends. But we also weren't focused on the old science building, so maybe we could have gotten up to some real ghost shenanigans if we had just gone in a different building. Now, to the Reverend's house. Ferret would take freshmen down there to freak them out, almost like a rite of passage. It had been done to us, so obviously, when we collected our own freshmen, inevitably, we would take them down to the Reverend's house. And everyone always reported like physically feeling things, like things crawling on their skin, a dark, foreboding presence. My best friend said she felt a pull to walk into the creek, and then everyone attached to that, like, oh, you felt that too? Like they all swore that there was a presence trying to get them to walk into the creek. But I didn't feel any of those things. And eventually I worked up the courage to tell the group that I didn't feel anything. A dreamer tried to imply that maybe I wasn't sensitive enough. She kind of tried to bully me a lot. But my best friend and reader both suggested that I was a psychic wall, which was why I was never included in dreamers' prophecies. I could keep them safe if I was with them when they were going down to the Reverend's house or doing witchy shit. And like that, they justified it. And instead of this being the wake up call I needed, I latched onto the explanation that made me feel the most special. Because that was what it was all about. These events made us feel special. And it was either go along with it or let myself be excluded from the only friend group I had. This is how cults happen, by the way. Like, if a fucking cult leader found us during this time in our lives, we would have been so easy to indoctrinate because we were basically doing it to ourselves. Oh, that reminds me. I actually have no idea where to put this in the script, so I guess it's going right here for now to kind of like solidify the power of the human mind. Dreamer had a psychosomatic strawberry allergy. And when I say that, I'm not saying she was faking a strawberry allergy. I mean, she would break out in hives if she knew she had consumed strawberries. You can't fake hives. Like, there were these little, like, lemon bar type dessert bars that the calf would serve, and she ate them, like, every day. Because the calf food wasn't great, but these were, like, consistently good. So they were her favorite dessert. Well, one day we are talking to the staff, and we get the recipe so we can make them at home, like when we go home for the summer. They are full of strawberries. We were like, oh no, they changed it. We need to go warn Dreamer. And this little old lady was like, no, this is how we always make them. So we debated telling her, but eventually decided that maybe she's confused and it's not strawberries she's allergic to. Like maybe she's allergic to a different fruit. So we tell her, and like not even 10 minutes later, it was so fast. She starts breaking out into hives. They're creeping up her neck. She has to go to the nurse where they confirm that it looks like an allergic reaction. Like they had to give her Benadryl and stuff and watch to make sure that she didn't need to go to the hospital. And she had this allergic reaction to something that she ate just fine when she didn't know there were strawberries in it. Like, the human mind is amazing. And then me and my best friend broke up for the last time, and we did not get back together. And we honestly didn't talk for like a little over a year. It was like a really bad, messy breakup. My best friend starts dating Reader, and suddenly they don't need me to be their wall anymore. Dreamer even starts hanging out with other people, which is what 100% convinced me she was hoping to date my girlfriend after we broke up. Like, when we broke up and my best friend did not immediately start dating Dreamer, when she started dating Reader instead, Dreamer just like dipped and started hanging out with other people. It was just like the haunting stuff was over. We never talked about it again. Like, and we were totally out of touch for a while. We eventually got back to being friends, like around the end of junior year. And it was just weird how quickly it ended for me. Like, I think they kept doing it through like half of junior year, but then like best friend and Reader broke up, and we just moved right along to smoking down by the Reverend's house like nothing ever happened. Ferret and Ghost Hunter still hung out and smoked with us, but the ghost thing wasn't ever brought up again. While we weren't talking, my best friend made a new friend who also kind of came with them and like incorporated into the group, and she just became this group mom. So I'm gonna call her Mama. I called Mama and best friend when I was scripting this story, but all Mama remembered about the ghost shit that she was involved in was that she was like an earth sign, which is fair. This was forever ago. And all best friend said was that we smoked way too much when we were in college, which is also fair. But yeah, we just had a normal college experience from there, getting ready to graduate and shit. Like, it was like, poof, no more ghost shit. We got bored of it. So I've presented you with all this information to the best of my memory. This was many, many years ago. I leave the conclusion to you. Were we being haunted or not? But alright, thank you for listening to my little ghost story dumplings. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.